A name that sent shockwaves through the world, a network that operated in secrecy, and a list of names that many never wanted to see the light of day. Who was Jeffrey Epstein, and why does his legacy still haunt the powers that be?
I got stuck in a time loop at 27.
27 is a good time. But you said earlier, you said something about, you architected your life to be wealthy.
No, you may have misunderstood. I never thought of, I never sort of went after money. I don't think about money in that sense. I think now what I'm saying is once you have wealth, you have to think about your life differently. Lots of hard work. And hard work didn't translate into success either. It wasn't what you knew or how hard you worked. In fact, the people who were doing construction on Telegraph Avenue at that time I remember seeing some people sort of really, coming in 7 o'clock in the morning, spending 12 hours working, and they still were neither happy nor successful. So it was not what you know. And what I learned in Dalton later was lots of it, in fact, turns out to not necessarily who you knew, but who you came in contact with.
Jeffrey Epstein wasn't born into wealth, but he quickly found his way into it. From teaching at an elite school without a college degree to working on Wall Street, Epstein's ability to manipulate powerful people was evident from the start. Epstein had a unique skill. He was a master at making the right connections. He promised discretion.
And in elite circles, that was more powerful than gold.
But Epstein's real power didn't come from his wealth. It came from the people he surrounded himself with. Epstein's influence extended into business, politics, and even royalty.
It's given the FBI in New York to turn over everything in their possession. But let me back up for just a second. The Attorney General, you recall last night, called it breaking news. She promised that we would get the Epstein files today. Now, we began the day with somewhat high expectation, having seen some influencers with so-called Epstein file folders. Wrote a letter, Laura, to the FBI director, Kash Patel, suggesting that the FBI's New York office, which collected material from the SDNY, that's the Southern District of New York, it seemed to be, for lack of a better description, stonewalling, holding back key materials. Now the FBI, he said there'll be no cover-ups and no missing documents and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current Bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. He went on to say if there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. So you may be wondering, okay, after all that, Kevin, what do we have? Well, so far we do have 7 flight logs. We have an Epstein contact book. We have a masseuse list, which strangely was redacted. But what was interesting so far tonight, and I'm still going through it, we did see a few names in that contact book I told you about. Among them, Michael Bloomberg, Alec Baldwin, and former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair.
The flight logs reveal a pattern. Many of Epstein's associates claim they had no knowledge of his crimes, but his connections to global power figures raise important questions. He made it seem normal. The wealth, the parties, the powerful people. It was all part of the illusion.
Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein arrested on new sex trafficking charges. The accusations date back to the 2000s and involve alleged crimes in New York and Palm Beach, Florida. In 2008, the wealthy hedge fund manager pleaded guilty in Florida to charges of soliciting and procuring minors for prostitution. He was sentenced to 13 months in jail and was required to reach settlements with his victims. Epstein is expected to appear in Manhattan federal court on Monday.
Prosecutors say that she recruited and groomed 4 girls between 1994 and 2004 for Epstein, her longtime associate and former boyfriend. Before the judge read the sentence, Maxwell spoke to the court and the victims, but remained defiant, saying, quote, "I am sorry for the pain that you experienced. I hope my conviction and harsh incarceration brings you pleasure."
After years of accusations and settlements, Jeffrey Epstein was finally arrested in July 2019. But before he could stand trial, the world was left with one final
chilling twist.
News right now. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges. NBC News investigative correspondent Tom Winter now has the very latest. Tom, what more do we know?
Peter, what we know now is that at 6:39 this morning, the fire department and EMS here in New York City got a phone call from MCC, which is a federal detention facility here in Manhattan in New York City, where Jeffrey Epstein was being held awaiting trial. They took him to New York's downtown hospital. He was in cardiac arrest. And it was pronounced there.
The new questions around the investigation into the death of Jeffrey Epstein, the accused sex trafficker stunning the world, taking his own life in a Manhattan jail cell. The official autopsy results just announced by the medical examiner and what his legal team is vowing tonight. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys questioning whether his death was a suicide, saying they are not satisfied with the ruling. They claim it is indisputable that the authorities violated their own protocols and that they plan to conduct their own investigation and will even pursue, quote, legal action to view the pivotal videos, if they exist as they should, of the area proximate to Mr. Epstein's cell. Sources tell ABC News that Epstein, who was awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges, hanged himself with a bedsheet.
The official ruling was suicide, but many experts found inconsistencies in the autopsy. The fractures in his neck were more typical of homicide strangulation, whether by conspiracy or the failure of the system. Epstein took many of his secrets to the grave.
Or did he?
In February 2025, Attorney General Pamela Bondi released the first batch of Epstein's files, which contained flight logs, contact lists, and evidence inventories related to Jeffrey Epstein's network.
When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
While the documents do not conclusively prove illegal activity by all named individuals, they confirm Epstein's far-reaching influence and his ability to use leverage over powerful people. The names revealed in these files have reignited debates on accountability, corruption, and the power of the elite. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered an investigation into why thousands of pages remain undisclosed and pledged additional document releases. Justice isn't just about Epstein. It's about every person who enabled him, protected him, or turned a blind eye. This documentary focuses on the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, their fight for justice and closure, and the ongoing efforts to hold everyone involved accountable. What happens next? Some say there are more files yet to be revealed. Others believe Epstein's influence reached even deeper than we know. There are too many unanswered questions. Who really benefited from Epstein's silence? And will we ever see the full truth?
One thing is for certain, Jeffrey Epstein may be gone, but the shadow he cast over the world's most powerful figures still lingers.